درمانم از یار کفرم از خود و عزیز یازیز ایمانم از یار منصور یا صاحی بکشانم بدار دست بر نمی دارم از دامان یار از دامان یار
There's Tibetan saying, better idea come from 100 people, the damn brain not so smart, than one great thinker or great sort of intellectual person. So that's, I think, very true, very true. The answer must find or must come from collective effort.
Good morning, Your Holiness. Today is the day for which we all have been preparing so hard. We have been through up some mountains and down some valleys, because it turns out this art of practicing compassion is not so easy.
Your Holiness, 2 days ago in meditation, I received this idea. With the current interest in Tibet, with your popularity worldwide, we could very easily mount a campaign to ask people to not invest in companies that are doing business in China until a set of conditions are met. We also could have an international boycott on purchasing goods from China. That would not be that difficult to organize with the amount of support we have here. The first question that people will ask me if I go out and try to talk about this is, what does the Dalai Lama think of this idea? So I would like to have your feedback on this idea.
This is very, very complicated questions. As you know, I believe humanity is the topmost important. So when we talk about humanity, China, most populated nation, still condition very, very poor. So under that circumstances, some sort of action which harm on the Chinese economic development is not right. Another aspect, the preservation of Tibetan cultural heritage and Tibetan spirituality is a long run immense benefit for the Chinese people also. Not only 6 million Tibetan people, in spite of many difficulties and many sort of risks, the number is growing among the Chinese who are showing interest and also practicing Tibetan Buddhism. So the preservation of Tibetan Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhist culture, is the interest of the Chinese also, long run. But unfortunately, at the moment, the Chinese leaders do not understand that. I'm trying to find mutually agreeable solution with Chinese government. But now, 20 years passed, the Chinese government attitude now these days completely sort of negative. In some cases, unfortunately, value of truth is nothing. So they, as a last resort, some economy sort of little pressure here and there. Also, you see, seems some relevant for me as a Buddhist monk, and also always trying to promote basic interest of the humanity. So on that level, you see, sometimes it's difficult to support that idea. You see, my position little is difficult.
So do we have a cautious yes from you?
His Holiness feels that the discussion has shaped the idea fairly well.
I think. So it seems, I think, good.
So His Holiness seems...
You've made Brother Wayne very happy.
Maybe everyone should raise their hands if they're in favor of this. But since it concerns Tibet, His Holiness said he will not raise his hand.
With clear explanation, then I think this is very good.
They said, well, what do you all think? And we had this ridiculous moment of taking a vote with the Dalai Lama on the future of Tibet. Okay, what's the vote? Okay, what are we voting for? Yes, no, yes, no. Okay, and all hands went up. Yeah.
Not harming Chinese people, or even, you see, one time, no, okay. Just a few explanations. This motivation is sincere, and the result will be mutual interest for everyone, isn't it?
Well, this is an issue that I'm sure we all will carry on.
But again, now, main purpose of our meeting is not for Tibet issue. This is, you see, the promotion of human value, promotion of this what human spirituality and peace. That's the main purpose. And byproduct, Tibetan case also very much related with that. So you see this happened. Yes.
These are Chinese shoes. I wanted to take them off today with His Holiness. And just like in India, when people threw the fabric that had come from Britain onto the fire, even though they had no money to replace that fabric. These shoes, they're cheap, and I don't live on much, so that's important to me. They're comfortable, they're convenient to get, go right to Kmart and get them. And I thought to myself, I can no longer do this. These are a symbol. And just to go in there with my shoes on, take my shoes off and offer them on the altar and walk out barefoot and say, look, we're going to have to give up stuff if this is going to change. But what we are going to gain on the other side of the ledger is moral authority, is a sense of internal peace, is a sense that our lives count, that we can live with ourselves, that we can go to sleep at night. and those are really, when you talk to a real human being, those things are so much more important than the Chinese shoes.
So I just want to say one moment about what we're doing now. Yesterday was, I believe, and I think many of us believe, an historic moment and an incredible opportunity. And that is around the issue of Tibet and with the proposal that Gordon and his colleagues made. Because Tibet, if we can be a little ambitious at the moment, is the first step.
Just a point of order on that, if I may. I heard the Dalai Lama say that he was concerned with all humanity.
Harry, excuse me, that's not a point of order. And so let's please be sensitive to the rules of discussion that we've already engaged in. Are we ready to be one community around this issue?
Don't agree. So I'm very sensitive to Americans attempting to solve the world's problems. And I don't necessarily feel that we're equipped to do that. We're dealing with histories. They go back thousands of years.
It is not strictly and exclusively about Tibet. Tibet is the symptom of the larger disease.
It's not easy to do. It can be very good. It can also lead to consequences that we can't predict.
I think what we're looking for right now is a confirmation that Tibet is the way to start the conversation, and we set a much larger context for it.
I'm feeling a little bit railroaded at the moment, and I think maybe a few other people do too. I heard something very profound from Nancy about the process of the witness group, from which I'm guessing that the witness group has gone further in their spiritual development in this conference than we synthesizers have. And the main point that I heard was that everybody went deeply into their own issues. We all have our Tibets. I have spent decades, quite a few of them by now, listening to Americans think up projects for people in other parts of the world without knowing anything about them. Tibet is an extremely complex issue. I think if we can't set up a situation where China and Tibet both win, that would not be a good thing in this present world. However, that project is about 10 times bigger than Tibet, isn't it? Are we as a group here going to take care of all the problems of the disenfranchised people in the world in the next 2 days, make a plan for doing that? Or are we going to make a plan for working on our own Tibets in a way that connects us with each other in the process of discovering and working on our Tibets?
I feel that being in the presence of such a spiritual master and such a heart-open being, that I feel that we're missing something very vital if we don't, each of us individually, separately, learn what it means to have an open heart and to face, as Elizabeth so eloquently put it, the Tibet within each of us. Each of us have problems. I know I do. I'm rough with people. I'm egocentric. I'm a complete asshole. I'm totally obnoxious. I admit it to you, I make mistakes, I fall, I do a lot of dumb things. And I'm totally willing to surrender to whatever it needs to take, whatever we need to do to face the Tibet that I have in my heart, that I can get rid of. There's a world that you can radically affect, transform it in a matter of a nanosecond, and that is the world that is your own universe, your body, yourself. Please take this opportunity to open your heart. Don't think about we got to do it in a group, we got to do it together, we can't do it unless we have a whole thing. Just take it as a personal experience. I beg you, take this opportunity. You have been given a blessing. You've been given a gift. Your gift was, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, is not to try to transform the world outside of yourself. The gift you've been given is the opportunity to transform the heart within you. If I hear the Dalai Lama correctly, and I admit that I may not always hear things correctly, I heard him say to me, open your heart, Fred, open your heart. Everything he says, every time I hear him, he says, open your heart, Fred. That's all I can hear, open your heart.
You yourself must make the effort. The Buddhas are only teachers.
Aya vare bonge longa gemne günde bejungje shuye Dambu lobde shusa de mana Sova debsho ondoje bunrozo Chebun jede shidon gina
Well, I'd like to say welcome to our meeting, but and you're home now. So we have to sort of welcome ourselves. When we visited with His Holiness Brother Wayne and I last month, we said, because we're very positive thinkers, we said, well, surely by Wednesday afternoon, we'll have solved many of the world's problems, and we'll be ready to move on because we'll have gelled as a group, we'll have our strategy together, and we'll be able to move ahead. Well, we're not quite there because, frankly, the facilitators have been fired in the process. So that's why I'm standing so close to you, for protection.
One day you might eliminate the protector also.
So I think you're safe.
I've always kind of worked around evil. You know, like there's always a way that you can work around evil and find the kind way, the spiritual way, the good-hearted way. But I'm having a sense that maybe there's a call to confront evil in our time, and maybe there's an evil that we are being negligent about, and I don't know what that is. And I was thinking today about, you know, there was always that question of, you know, the people who watched the trains go by with the Jews inside. And we all think we wouldn't have been that. We wouldn't have done that. But what trains are going by right now that we are just watching going by?
I think the spiritual breakthrough requires an engagement with the forces of greed and the forces of destruction. And so, you know, in our group, we just felt that the time, I think, has come to, in a way, come together in very intimate leadership from you. And we are ready. We want to form that kind. We want to put our energies to this work. And we hope you want to play that role, and we want to turn the exile of the Tibetan people into the new opportunity for the next millennium, so that being freed of leading Tibet alone, you can lead the world with it.
I'm deeply sympathetic with the need for action and the need for combining spirituality with action. I have a training in Jesuit spirituality, and in my church, the Catholic Church, there's a long history of social teaching. And I'm also sensitive to the gift that you bring to us as a moral authority and as an example. But I would like to propose to the group that we don't look to His Holiness, whom we revere, to lead us, but we lead ourselves. We take the inspiration. We have authenticity by virtue of the spirituality that bubbles up in our various traditions. And I think it would be a disservice both to His Holiness and to our own humanity to look to anybody else but within to develop the methods and practices to solve our problems.
Firstly, I believe main purpose of our gathering is long-term strategy. Not as a problem here and there. That is, we can't handle these things. Too many problems. And it's supposed to see these government, as politicians, they are supposed to see to solve these immediate problems, whether they can solve or not. As a result, nobody taking care about long-term, I think, strategy or interest. And meantime, many problems we are facing today, it's not just superficial causes, but there are deeper sort of causes. I think the crisis in late 20th century we are facing is due to negligence of previous century, of our previous generations. And look, America, Lord, your ancestors, yes, really, you're talking about democracy, liberty, freedom. But then time goes, when you see people, they face the reality, today's reality, then this concept is sometimes almost like outdated. In modern politics or geopolitical sort of field, there is no room of morality, no room of justice. So everything based or judged by the force. Physical force, that means military force, and the economic force. So there's very little room, value of justice and truth. That's why on global level, weaker nations always suffer. And within the nation, weaker section of the people always suffer. Every human activities, something necessary and something neutral. But then every human action, whether become constructive or destructive, is depend on motivation. And I think some kind of spirit of or sense or spirit of one humanity. Humanity, consider humanity is topmost. My nation, my religion, my race, these are secondary. Often you see just opposite. My nation first, my religion first, humanity come later. I think that's the problem, isn't it? We are gathered here talking about this long-term strategy. How to prevent disease. Now that's our task, isn't it? So I think that's our prime. Then byproduct, if we can express our concern or something to certain particular issue, of course, very good. Like the Tibetan issue, you see, you express your concern and you want something to do something, good. But I think our prime sort of aim is that not in this specific, but main how to promote human basic value. So that I think now our main task. And then how to promote that? Firstly, individual ourselves, must implement, and day and night, including our dream. And then within our own family and certain groups. And then I think another method like this gathering, from time to time, at different places, more discussions, and bring new people and discuss. And then eventually, yes, invite some politicians, some national leaders, or some people from the United Nations, or Secretary General of the United Nations, isn't it? And Secretary of NATO, I don't know. So in any case, you see, we can invite, but I don't think, you see, no need to set up some kind of organization. And at the worst, lead by Dalai Lama, I think, out of question. No. I want to remain simple Buddhist monk and as a contribution. And then media people, I think they make, when appropriate time comes or appropriate circumstances, it's a clear presentation about, concern of these basic human values. And I think, worthwhile to show, yes, there is way, there is method and possibility to change our today's illness. There is a possibility to prevent these things. Our fundamental thing is we want happiness. We do not want to die. We do not want even mosquitoes' pain. I do not want. But sometimes I really find difficult, dialogue with mosquito and my pain. So, as I mentioned earlier, mosquito, mentally, sometimes I feel, because let's give some blood. If that, no malaria. If I'm sure, no malaria. Then, but first mosquito come, sometimes I give some blood. Then second come, third come. That's difficult. Still difficult. But in any case, I'm practicing. Try to help other people, try to give some comfort to others as much as I can. I forgot what I'm saying. Mosquito take my idea. So ultimately, thing is, we want happiness. We do not want suffering. Everybody, any sentient being. Now we are actually creating more unnecessary sufferings. I think very important to make clear to public. We are not talking about religion. If we have more compassion, God will please. We are not talking that. As a Buddhist, if we practice compassion, Buddha will support us. I'm not talking that. If we are a more compassionate person, I get more benefit. I will be more happier person. That's the point. Here, I think one check, one is $1 million. But here, no peace. That $1 million will not bring inner peace, happiness. More frustration. This money bring more frustration, more suspicion, more anxiety, or sometimes more jealous then. So inner peace is the ultimate source of happiness, joyfulness. So I think people do not understand that. Isn't it? That's my point. So that's my response.
Renaissance, a new birth.
Which country? What country? Ah, India. From where? Which state? Oh. How long since you become monk? Last year.
Your Holiness, this is dedicated to you with admiration, in spite of the fact that admiration is a Buddhist sin.
You boy.
This is for my wife and myself. Thank you.
This is my book, Integrating Science and Spirituality, using quantum physics.
Thank you.
I have a friend who's an astrologer in Ithaca, New York, and I asked him what it was going to be like to come here. And he said, well, what are you trying to do? And I explained the whole notion of synthesis and this illustrious body of people. And he said, no, that's not why you're there. He said, why you're there is that sometime toward the end of this, the Dalai Lama is going to sit you down, all of you down, and lecture you and get you out of your egos. And for me, that happened yesterday.
The goal to achieve some synthesis at times seemed vague and overly momentous because we come from so many different backgrounds and disciplines. And yet, there was a calming presence from His Holiness, and I think a very commonsensical presence too, because being Westerners from America and very production-oriented, I think many of us thought, let's get a plan, let's get the solution and drive it home. And yet, he constantly reminded us, this is long-term.
If you want to manifest spiritual ideas like compassion in your mind, in your heart, from mind to the heart, it takes a quantum leap. What happened yesterday was very interesting because Dalai Lama is not unaware of this at all, but he has a better judgment of how this has to be implemented. So he said short term and long term, and my eyes opened. So it was a huge, huge eye-opener for me. And I really appreciated that.
So was it a quantum leap?
It was a quantum leap for me.
This is a seed. It's a seed, it's a beautiful seed. I'm confident that it will flower, and I have no way of knowing how that will be.
I know the facilitators took a lot of heat about the way they designed this, but it is the act of humility to say, I think in the last analysis, I think it finally did work. Today and yesterday, things came together in a nice way, and I feel like I'm leaving with joy. Certain things lined up for me and returned me to a way of being that I have been, but with a certain added vigor.
At the beginning of the conference, I read some words from Thomas Merton from an essay he wrote called About Results. And he said, don't worry about the results. Just do the right work. The results will happen. Maybe not in your lifetime, but they'll be there.